I had posted a couple of social media posts about the fact that there were holders and founders of the major cryptocurrencies selling off large portions of their cryptocurrency. Like, for instance, the Litecoin holder sold off a large amount of his. Bitcoin holders were selling off a large amount of theirs. Now got into this, they got in so early until there was no way that they could lose. So for them, I guess they figured we'll get out while we're ahead. The only problem is, and I guess some of them take criticism for this, the only problem is when they start selling, other people take that as a sign that they should start selling. Now, you're going to have a lot of these quote unquote professional analysts saying, oh yeah, it was all a bubble and I saw this coming and the bubble is bursting and blah, 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 blah. The reality of the situation is that you have to remember blockchain is a technology. Now, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, all of these things make use of blockchain, but the problem is that the only thing that causes people to target their investments into one over the other is the hype that you hear on the news, the hype you see on the internet. That's the only thing that causes people to really focus their money. Like, for instance, you've heard me mention a couple of times about Ripple, and maybe you've heard me mention Vertcoin. It depends, like, if you watch me here or if you listen to me on Twitter or Facebook or Yahoo or whatever. Thing about it is, the bottom line of all stocks and commodities, you buy low and you sell high. You buy them when they're at their lowest and you sell them when they're at their highest. The problem with Bitcoin and the problem with other cryptocurrencies is we have no idea how high they're ultimately going to go. But what we do know is that their low is zero. Now, with Bitcoin, there's so many people who've bought Bitcoin early on. There's so many people still mining Bitcoin. Bitcoin will probably never go to zero per se. Bitcoin will probably still be around. The only problem is we have no idea what the low is in Bitcoin and we have no idea what the high is. So we saw it reach a record high of 19,000, but we don't know if it can go higher than that. A lot of the analysts were saying that Bitcoin could be as high as 50,000 by next year. Problem is, what we're seeing now is now that there's Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin futures and they're spinning off all of these different cryptocurrencies based on Bitcoin, right? It kind of reminds me of derivatives. And if you know what I'm talking about, it kind of reminds me of how the subprime market caused people to bet against it and to create hedges against it. But then on top of those hedges, there were a lot of people who started trading bets against the bets. So you ended up with these derivatives that made no sense whatsoever because they were all based on a bubble, which could not rise in perpetuity. Now, Bitcoin split, became Bitcoin Cash. Then on Sunday, we saw, what was it called? Bitcoin Futures, right? Ever since Bitcoin Futures, we've seen it start to sell off. One of the founders or one of the main holders of Bitcoin started selling off all his, and then he was followed by Litecoin. Litecoin, from what I remember, Litecoin dropped to like $100 today. I think the low for today, I'd have to look for it. I think the low for today was, what was it, like... The low for today was $173. Now, it dropped to $173, but it shot right back up to its current price at $258. Ethereum's today, the low was $506, the high was $805. So the question is this a dip or is this the end? Is this Armageddon for cryptocurrency, or are we in a deep dip? If you look over the history of Bitcoin, you look over the history of Ethereum, the history of Litecoin, there have been some pretty deep dips. The problem is that when we take in this information, we're doing it real time. So it's like every single week feels like it takes forever just to see anything happen because we're watching this second by second real time. So this could be a temporary dip. It could go back up, but we just don't know. But one of the things that was causing it to go up was the hype. So many people got into Coinbase. So many people got into video cards that were overpowered. So many people bought new computers to try to mine Bitcoin. When there's less hype, that's when you'll notice the dips tend to happen. When the media starts talking about these things, that's when you'll notice that there's a lot of sell-offs. But one of the problems with sell-offs is that the sell-offs accelerate themselves. And we already know that these things are highly volatile. But the problem is when people see other people selling, that causes them to panic and then they sell out. Now, some people keep on sending me messages. They're like, oh, did you sell your Bitcoin? Did you sell your Bitcoin? Well, I'm glad to say that I've sold the majority of my Bitcoin. So as you can see right here, the Bitcoin that I've held, I've sold down to like less than $123. The problem with Bitcoin is that you're only allowed to sell out so much at a time. You're not allowed to go past $10,000 at a time. So I was fortunate that I started selling off and I was way up already. So when I saw those founders start to sell, what I started doing was I was like, you know what? I think I should sell too. Now, I've made profit. So if I want to rebuy into these things, if Litecoin dips again today or if Ethereum dips deep, I could probably buy a couple more whole Litecoins. I could probably buy a couple whole Ethereums if I want. But the thing about it is, when I was watching what the founders were doing, I just took that as a symbol to say, you know what, maybe what I should do is I should start selling out. So my Bitcoin right now is down to, what is it, $123. So I didn't lose money because if you remember, when I was telling everybody to get into it, I was telling everybody to get in when Bitcoin was 10,000, and I was telling everybody to get in while Litecoin was $99. So the thing about it is, if you were getting in when I was telling you about getting in, you're probably still up. Whether you sell or not, that's up to you. I've already made my decision. I sold because, you know, I've got shit that I want to buy after tax season is over. I want to see how much money I owe in taxes because I made over $20,000, a lot over $20,000. So I have to check and see how much I owe in taxes because, you know, the IRS is coming and they don't use the KY jelly when they come after you. So I don't want anything to happen. But bottom line is this: right now, this, you know, the signal's out. So you have to decide what you're going to do.